I
like it tight.
I'm always fucking with my mic. I'm always doing this shit.
I like them young and I like them tight.
Get there before the hair does.
Oh
I threw
my.
up in my mouth a little.
Oh
Oh
my.
my god.
Get there before the hair does. Holy shit. We are recording, so that's going to be the opening line to this podcast right
No!
Why not?
People's mothers listen to this.
My mom
So?
doesn't anymore.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Yeah, she's like, oh, I can't do it.
I can't do it.
No.
Well, that's all right.
The Coaches Collaboration Podcast.
Hey, this is Josh Pearson.
Performance specialist with the Complete Athlete.
This is Cole Warm.
Certified USAPL club coach and owner of Salutum Health and Performance. Each week, Cole and Josh will take you through training techniques and tips, talk to athletes and fitness professionals to educate and motivate you for your fitness goals. Plus, you'll follow the journeys of Team Salutum Powerlifting and get complete athletes. The Coaches Collaboration Podcast is brought to you by Salutum Health and Performance. Take your full power potential to a new level. Online powerlifting coaching, customized programming to fit your individual needs and goals. Access to a coach 24/7. Whether you need a quick form check or a full program, Salutum Health and Performance has one goal in mind, taking you to the next level. Got a meet coming up? Ask about on-site coaching. Join the team that's setting records across the powerlifting community. Team Salutum Powerlifting with Salutum Health and Performance. Online at salutumhp.com. Salutumhp.com. And now, the Coaches Collaboration Podcast.
Kip's gonna go up a little
All
bit.
right, Kip, you got to give us a hype up song.
Yeah. What's your hype song,
It can't
dude?
be some shit either. I'm just kidding.
Well, don't go by that because Josh is the worst shit litmus test when it comes to music.
Yeah, he has a weird fucking taste.
I have a weird taste.
My hype is pretty basic.
It's a Starbucks coffee?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think
Hey, where the fuck is Kip's Green Monster?
Oh,
It's
shit.
in
I'll
the
go get it.
fucking fridge.
I'll go get it, man.
Jesus.
so. I think right now my ultimate hype song is called Lux, Gemini Syndrome. I think it's called.
Ooh. Is this like a EDM dubstep song?
I think it's foreign. I don't even know. I got it from
What?
Bonica.
Hell yeah.
He knows how to
Okay, everybody crack
slide
at
in.
once. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Synchronize your. Ooh, did you see that? That was pretty.
Kip's was already open.
Yeah.
Just pour that shit into your ice mountain and just get to work.
Dude, we almost made a monster wop this weekend for our big lift. So where you take like 10 varieties of wop and pour it all over ice and divide it out
You mean 10 varieties of Monster?
of monster and make one big wop. Yes, I'm sorry. My bad.
Building.
This sounds sweet.
Building.
This makes me feel like I'm putting on expensive shoes.
It's good for a single.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It's a super adrenaline rushing.
Wrapping up wrist right now.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Totally gets that blood pumping and you feel the
Like
hair
you
on
have
the back of
voices
your
in
neck.
your head.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck yeah. Especially at 3 times this volume.
And it gets better.
Oh, I bet. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's good.
So
We might have to use this in one of our like videos
Yeah, I like it.
for sure.
yeah, and then when you have your own beats or buds in and you have it like connected right to your head.
Oh
The-
yeah.
the-
And you can like you
It's-
can feel the spatial
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah, I totally get into my own
Fuck yeah.
zone. So
You guys ever listen to the extended version of Twisted Transistor? Where it like goes around your head at the beginning?
Yeah, I think so.
That fucks me up every time. Because it's like,
It's the only time you'll see Josh start to look cross-eyed and pass out right before his snatch.
just like,
Well, remember he has that. Do I sound weird? Check.
You
check.
do. You sound
There.
like you're in a
There we
tunnel.
go.
He has that history of like spazzing out and having seizures during songs.
Shut it.
Do you really?
Were you not fucking here when we talked about it?
Jesus, dude.
Jesus.
Remember he talked about him doing K2 and then he like
Seized in my parents'
was
basement.
listening to dubstep and like started
Yeah.
having like a.
Oh, wait a second. Is this right after you did the full round of Beachbody workouts? Was this back
Before.
when you were
This
doing
was
drugs?
before. Yeah. That song "Blacker Than Black" that I made
Oh,
you guys
okay.
listen
Yep,
to.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Creepy
super.
fucking dubstep song.
See, I just put it all into Josh does roids.
Yeah,
and
that was that
so
episode.
I didn't
was that
really pick it
episode.
up the way
It's
I probably should
ridiculous.
have.
Yeah.
There's a. I gotta start paying for YouTube, you guys.
Yeah, this is a
Some of the
fucking
ads are
joke.
ridiculous.
Oh.
So
So what's good?
what's good? We are here today with Kip. Kip, aka Cows and Kilos.
yes.
AKA Equipped
Cows
Power
and
Lifter.
kilos. How did you get that name?
AKA Blue Short Guy.
I mean, we all try to come up with that catchy phrase, but you know, my life revolves around cows and powerlifting, so it just rhymed kind
Boom.
of. Yeah.
Cows and kilos.
Josh,
Spell
I
it with
just I want you to know this is real cows. This is not like slang for women or anything like that. I know you're a city dude. You're a city dude. I just need you to know.
Well, I mean, we don't
As
really.
an actual moo cows on 4 legs.
Right.
Shut your mouth.
Is that
That's not funny.
cows with a K too?
Huh?
To keep it real catchy? Like
no.
caffeine kilos?
No, so I'm actually a dairy farmer by
cool.
trade,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I try to fit powerlifting in there. So it's not easy, but
Just benching those cows, huh?
yes,
Yeah, fuck
here
yeah.
come all the
He's,
here
Shove
come all
those
the
shafts up their ass and just get to work.
Jesus, dude. Is that what you think dairy farming is?
I've been on dairy farms before.
You
yes.
have?
Yes, I have. I assume you have just a huge barn, right?
So you
Yeah.
just walk up and you're double-fisted cows? What kind of dairy farm was that?
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I
you gotta
should have
put
known.
those
I should have known coming into
self-milkers.
here that we would talk about cows, and he's
yeah.
gonna go right into
Yeah, right.
fisting cows and having sex
Well,
with
hey.
cows, or
Maybe not having sex with them, but
well,
yeah.
you would,
Right?
You
I
would go
would.
that
You're
far.
acting-
Dude, you're acting
You
like
ever
that's a
see those
stretch.
milkers? Those fucking automated milkers?
Yeah, I
Oh,
have.
fuck. Those things suck real good.
Or pump.
See,
Get a,
did I
Yeah,
not?
exactly.
get a circle jerk going real fast. It's great.
Jesus Christ.
4 at
dude.
once, man. There's 4 of them.
So, but yeah, I
Do you butcher cows too? And
no, not personally.
Okay, okay.
But we do send them off to slaughter
Yeah,
to go into the meat market.
Yep.
So
So are you on like a big, just like a big farm that, are you just like you work at the farm? Do you live on the farm? Do you?
yeah, so I'm a manager at a 300 cow dairy.
okay.
I spent 6 years owning my own farm. That was only about 60 cows. But
Okay.
I've worked anywhere from 25 cows to 2,000 cows on a
Holy
dairy.
smokes.
Jeez.
Yep.
That's nuts.
60 is a lot. I think the dairy farm I was on was 60 or 80.
Yes, yeah. My
Just a
my
family
60
did
cow dairy was a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Right.
Yeah. Twice
Especially-
a day. and
I milked 3.
3 times a day. Fuck. yeah.
So every 8 hours we had to milk.
Oh, God. That's
Jesus.
getting
That's-
up at the ass crack of dawn right
yeah.
there.
That's like not even. How do you schedule that? Like you just fucking don't sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started out at 25 cows, and then about 2 years in, I moved south to another facility, and I expanded from 30 to 60. And when I first did that, I was doing all the work myself, and I was trucking all the feed in.
Oh, shit.
Because I had nothing on the farm. So at that time, for 6 months, I worked 20 to 22 hours every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I bet.
Yeah. And that's no bullshit.
Yeah, you didn't have any fields or anything to. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
shoveling
but
all
just
that feed and-
the amount of work to go through
Right.
and feed, milk, take care of young stock, and,
Right.
and everything that comes with that trucking. It was literally 6 months of 20 to 22 hours every day.
That's fucking insane.
No wonder
and-
you moved on from that. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Well, I actually ended up losing it. That's how I.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because of the dairy market took a very bad turn.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I was very successful. The farm itself was successful, but financially it failed.
Right.
Right.
And the dairy industry is one of those professions. Is probably one of the only professions where you can do everything right and still fail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's nuts.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm a finished carpenter, right? So I do specifically ceilings, right? But I feel like for your work, like the second you get everything quote unquote done, you got to restart and do everything again.
Absolutely.
Like for me, when like I get done with the day, I can look back and I can see exactly what I did because it looks different than it did before. But for you, it's just cyclical, like do the same shit.
And dairy is its own kind of crazy because it's 365, 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Versus,
Christmas Day you're still milking.
Absolutely. I haven't had a holiday in a long time.
Yeah.
A very long time. So it
That's just kind of the nature of the business then, though, huh?
yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We talk about it as fitness. It just the discipline of getting into the gym and everything. For me, that's life.
Right.
Is you get up every day and you're doing the same thing. Like this weekend is my 3rd weekend off this year, and because when I have off from work, I haven't filled in with powerlifting meets or
Right.
everything
Right.
else. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is my third meet that I've had to myself
Wow.
this weekend. But what to me, like I spent years, I had no time off. I
Right.
went years without a day. So like when people talk about they can't get to the gym, or
Right.
people talk about like they don't have the motivation to go in, or the discipline. I mean, it's
Kip's over here like fucking pony up.
you guys are
Puss ass bitches, get to the gym.
and people well,
Milk
'cause-
60 cows and then go deadlift,
well
bitch.
they all have time to watch Netflix
Right.
or Hulu or whatever it may be. I'm finally taking some time for myself to catch up on the Marvels before Endgame comes out.
Yeah.
There you
This is
go.
the most TV I have watched in probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, at least you've gotten yourself to the point now where you can at least have a little bit of time off. But that's one thing I've experienced too, is because, being a student, like you just have way more time, and like getting to the gym, like it wasn't a hassle, and I looked forward to it every single day. Whereas now, when I'm working 40 plus hours a week and I commute 3 hours a day, and it's
it's a little different perspective.
yeah,
now.
I mean, you really realize like if you have a passion for this shit or not,
Right.
Absolutely.
because it's easy. And I've said this to people that I know. I'm like, I understand how people can fall off of the gym life.
Well, and I don't think the juniors don't really realize why they don't get the credibility from the opens,
yeah,
because it takes a lot to live what you want to call the open lifestyle, where you're actually trying to have a career, have a relationship,
Right.
have a family.
yeah,
You're doing all these things. You're not at campus. You're not at school. Your girlfriend isn't just down, however far
Right,
away,
right.
because that's your life.
Right.
Where when you're an open, it's hard to make a minority your priority, because
Yeah.
really
You're giving up a lot more.
to keep progressing, you have to sacrifice a lot,
And commit more time to
and a lot
yeah.
of them aren't willing to do that today.
Well, and that's one thing too, is like as you get further into the game and have been doing this for a longer time, then it becomes more. You need to give more and more time in order to see the progress that you want, versus just being able to go work out in the gym and do 3 sets of 5 and get stronger every day.
And that's why a lot of them fall off.
Yeah, because they hit that plateau, and when you have to do the extra work and do all and actually frickin' make sure your diet's right and do all that, all the shit that people don't like to talk about, that's what actually makes it hard. Anyone can go in and fucking lift weights. Like, it's really not that difficult, but
Absolutely.
Past those newbie gains,
Right.
Once those are gone,
yeah,
now you have to put in some time.
yeah.
So how have you structured your training? Now, obviously you don't get bored doing the same thing over and over again. Do you structure it where it's kind of a day-by-day thing? Do you have block programming that you do, or how do you deal with tough days? How do you...
So I always have a coach. I feel like I'm pretty well rounded in my knowledge for, I've been in this a long time now, but it's always good for me to have a coach to keep me accountable, give me sense of direction, have that other pair of eyes. I mean, I'm such a perfectionist on my form, and over time my body is, I wouldn't say it's not aging well, but it takes a beating.
Yeah.
Especially like this last winter here in the Midwest. I'm outside all day, every day. So,
Anyway, yeah.
I was putting in 14-hour days with that negative 50, 60 below wind chill.
Right.
And then I'm driving to the gym and trying to train. I mean, you want to talk about hell. That's
Exactly.
hell on the body. And nutritional help. So I always have a coach. But I've been trying a lot of different things the last few years. So I did take a small break from when I originally started. And ever since I came back, I've been trying to figure out ways, how can I do this and keep progressing when my biggest limitations are my sleep, because I don't sleep enough. I know that for a long time I didn't eat enough. So now that I'm starting to get things to click, how can I make things to work? So now this year, since January, I went to a 6 days a week program where it went to 3 days a week benching, two days squatting, and 1 day deadlifting. And so what we did is we tried to minimize the amount of the amount of intensity and bring in frequency and volume to try to
Minimize just the beating on your body overall.
yes,
that
try to
touching that heavy
get
weight.
in work
Right.
that we could recover from, because what I was doing, I was doing 3 days a week, and I was putting these big giant SBD days, And
You'd be just destroyed for like 2-3 days after that because.
and 2 days later, I'd try to come in and train
it
again,
again,
and
yeah.
I'm just smoked.
Right. So you're taking that same intensity and just leveling it out for 6 days. which
Yeah,
is great.
so
And then you can predict it better too, right? Even on a really tough day on the farm, you can still come in and expect to hit somewhere in the ballpark.
well, and the other thing that I've done is I went to RPE program.
yeah.
And that's really seemed to help. It's taken me a long time to learn it, and I know me and Cole have talked in the past about how do I learn this system, because you go into it with a mindset of, all right, this is where I'm at, blah blah blah. But every day is different, and so like right now, I would think that my coach has kind of backed me down to a lot of 6s and 7s, just so that way we're working at a workload that it's still getting in the full sets and reps. We're getting the work done and still getting some work in that I can recover from. And then
It's almost like, especially for someone in your position and like as a coach too, you almost have to find that balance of just the least amount of volume possible to still see progress. You know what I mean? You're the type of athlete where it's like you can't really push you that hard because it's going to pull from everything else, and you're going to end up possibly like hurting yourself because you just have so much shit going on. So it's like, okay, what can we do to like push you just enough where we're seeing progress, but not too much where we push that red line and kind of.
Absolutely, and especially with squat and deadlift, because right now I'm squatting on Mondays, and then I come back and deadlift on Wednesdays. And what will happen is if I have a big enough squat day, my deadlift day will be completely garbage.
Yeah, like if you overshoot on that squat day, it's tough to come back 2 days. I have the same schedule, and I'm the same way. Like if I overshoot on that squat day right away, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
Now
I
my
mean,
deadlift's gonna
I'm
suffer.
feeling like $1 million driving home from that squat workout.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, wow, that wasn't fucking sweet, you know?
Yeah.
And then Wednesday comes around, it's just like,
Yeah,
well,
I'm
that
feeling
squat
that
workout
squat
was
day.
that was really worth it now.
So now have your workouts, you going to 6 days a week, are they a lot shorter
Yeah.
than they were? Okay,
Yeah.
so compare when you were 3 times a week to 6. Like how long were they?
So right now, my bench days are probably the quickest. I can get them down to an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
Deadlifts or squats and deadlifts can be down to 2 to 3. I mean, my SBD days, they were taking 3-4.
yeah.
Yeah.
And after
And you're just grinding that tank.
oh
just
yeah,
dying.
by the time I was at the end of those workouts, I mean, I'm just dead. And then I have an hour plus drive home.
and then you got to wake up early in the morning and get to work.
at
Yeah.
3:30 every
Yeah.
day.
And I assume you're not the type that even if you feel bad, you're going to slow down at work. I'm sure
No.
at work you work no matter what.
Yeah, no,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
no slowing down.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how hard, like that's the thing too, is I'm in the same boat. No one at fucking work gives a fuck about what you did in the gym the night
Right.
before.
Absolutely.
They're like, just fucking do it. I
Or
don't give
they'd
a
say,
shit.
don't go to the gym then.
Right,
You
exactly.
need to be here and work.
Right.
As we all know, people that aren't part of the industry don't understand and will never understand.
Right.
So you can't expect sympathy or empathy from anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you as an open, you have to change your mindset that nobody really cares outside the gym.
And
Yeah.
nobody does. Yeah.
I mean, really.
And
That's so true.
That's what I've been experiencing that too. Just like I said, getting out in the real world in that workforce, and it's like literally no, it doesn't matter. Like being as strong as I am has no like effect on how well I can do my job. Like how well I can do my job is totally separate, and no one at work gives a fuck about how much you bench as long as you're fucking fast and good at what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a reality
and
check.
talking about going back to talking about intensity, I actually endured probably the biggest injury that I have had, hurting my neck
Oh, okay.
last summer, and I think a lot of that came from not being able to manage the amount of intensity that I was trying to train with and the kind of conditions that I was at work. And so what happened was it was a really, really hot week, and we were outside working and, doing whatever we do. And after I sold my herd, I did concrete. And one day I got heat stress or heat overheated, and I got sick. And ever since then, I've been a little sensitive to heat. And so this was at the end of that week, and I simply got too hot. And I went home, tried to recover, and I know I wasn't recovered enough. I went in for, that big Sunday squat workout that I had, and I was doing I don't know, some heavy volume. Towards the end of it, I could feel a pull on my neck, and so the right side of my neck, I strained it. So I sat out for 15 minutes, then came back and finished the workout.
Oh, it's my neck. It's not my knee or my leg or anything.
Just put the bar lower and get to work.
I wasn't dead, so I mean, why wouldn't you keep going?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, the next day I went to work, came back in, and I started rowing because that's what I do for my activation. And it started flaring up again. I thought, I just need an adjustment.
Yeah.
So I went and seen a chiropractor and sat down and. Oh, yeah, looks me over and a couple cranks here and there. And I walked out and I'm like, that wasn't a very good adjustment.
No, right. I'm not feeling any relief.
You shouldn't be walking out the door worse than you walked in the door.
So,
or leaving thinking I need another chiropractor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I went and deadlifted.
Oh,
because naturally you just,
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't
It's
stop.
just my stiff neck. No big deal. Fuck it.
So I got home that night and my vision was blurry.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I got home, and you know how you wake up in the morning, your eyes are fuzzy, and you're just like trying to rub it out, trying to get the shit out.
Oh, I try to rub it out all the time. I saw that look on you. I saw that look on you, bro. You were like, perfect time. Got it.
God, you had to take it from me, didn't you? Just take the glory.
We need
keep your fucking mic off.
Damn it.
We need that's what she said. Sound drop for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
Or
sorry.
that's what Josh said.
Yeah, right.
But
so your vision's blurry.
So
my
that's
vision,
what she
my
said
vision,
then.
my vision got blurry. And I'm like, this ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
This is not good.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
then
his
better.
face started to slump. Started slurring his
it kind of goes
words.
along those lines. So then the next day I talked to a friend of mine at American Strength, and he goes, "Oh, well, go see my chiropractor." Okay. So this was a chiropractor right in deep St. Paul, athletic chiropractor and everything. So went and seen her and told her my conditions and everything, and she sits there and goes, "Well, I'm not going to touch you." I go, "What do you mean?"
yeah.
She goes, "Well, I think you need to go to the hospital right now. You had a stroke." And I'm like,
Oh shit.
"What are you talking about?"
Right. What? No
She goes,
shit.
I think you got a stroke." And I'm just, no.
There's no. You're well
So
in your
then,
mind. You're like, there's
so
no
then
way.
she
Stroke?
wouldn't even let me leave.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I had to have somebody come and pick me up, went to urgent care, and got checked out. They cleared me of a stroke, which I knew was not it, but
Right.
okay. So then immediately following that, my vision was still blurry. And so then I started making trips down to Madison
Oh jeez.
to see my old chiropractor because I couldn't find anybody relatively around the cities. So he said that chiropractor sprained it. Long story short, that chiropractor sprained my neck. And everything, so much is affected, so much is connected and infected or affected by the back of your neck.
Yeah.
And vision is one of them.
Right.
Wow.
So then, to speed it up, my friend Mariah Ham, she also was enduring some troubles with injuries and stuff, and she found a good chiropractor over in White Bear Lake. So with that, I got free x-rays, and we got to see what was going on, and now you see me wearing glasses because it never went back.
No shit.
Yeah.
You have to wear glasses now because some fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yep. True story.
Wow.
Oh shit.
I've never heard of anything like that.
No. I mean, I've heard of sprained necks before, but I've never had it associated with vision loss.
Yep.
To the point where, how long ago was this?
Last August.
A year ago almost.
Yep.
Holy shit, man.
Yep.
And you're stuck wearing glasses. Oh fuck that.
So that happened
So,
last.
Where does this guy live? What?
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it.
Oh, say
It's
it on air.
it's one of the reasons, though, that I've always said that, chiropractors are like shoes. A certain chiropractor's going to fit a certain person a certain way.
I was like,
you know what I mean? Like,
But at the same time, I mean,
There's shitty chiropractors.
It could have been an oops too.
yeah, but when you're a chiropractor, you're dealing because I have heard of people having strokes right on the table.
Yeah, I've heard of
It
people.
happens.
Jesus.
That's probably why
I
she.
have
That's
not.
probably why she made you stay where you were and wouldn't let you leave. Because if she had adjusted you that day with the symptoms you were having, she
could
could
have
have
been
made it
liable.
so. She could have killed you. I mean, who knows?
Well, that's what she was afraid of, and her husband had just gone through a stroke, so she was really paranoid.
Yeah.
But
man.
yeah, it.
That's
it was
crazy.
Not something. I
Well,
wanna
you
go
know what?
through
Those
again.
glasses fit your face.
Hey,
there you
thanks.
go. Bam. Couldn't even tell.
Josh with the love.
Yeah, right there.
But
Right
no,
there.
I mean,
That is so odd, though.
yeah.
God damn.
And from there, it took me. It wasn't until January I really got squatting again. And when to bring this full circle, when we
3
talk-
months ago?
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
and if you've been following me, like I just started going back to comp squat this last month.
So you were high bar for this whole time, or
No,
safety?
because I've got other issues too.
He's got all the issues.
Oh my God, I knew we connected on some level. I figured
got-
out what it is. I got more issues than a
no,
newsstand.
Yeah.
God.
So I tried doing wide stance,
Oh, okay.
but my hips decided fuck you.
Yeah.
So I went.
Especially if you're trying to use the same weight.
Well, that was the other frustrating part because I did not have near the strength
Right.
at a wide stance.
Right.
Because naturally my comp is super narrow.
Okay.
Super narrow low bar. And then I tried going out to my old hybrid sumo stance.
Oh, okay.
So that's really wide.
Right, for a
And-
squat, yeah.
Especially
Yep.
if you haven't done it in a long time.
Right, and it wasn't working because I always struggle to get good glute and lower body activation, getting things to fire well. Well, I spent so much time in my hybrid sumo that I really got a good pattern down where I got things to turn on and click. So that's why I went to that right away. But in turn though, like that actually worked out pretty well because I think it crossed over to my deadlift.
Yeah.
And now I actually have it in as an accessory lift. So
Yeah.
But-
And Kip's got a deadlift on him.
Yeah.
yeah, just shitty hand grip.
Just a shitty hand grip.
You
What?
think those years of milking them cows, you'd have better grip.
He doesn't actually fucking
Yeah, I
pull
get it.
teeth,
It's a
bitch.
joke.
You got, but
Jesus.
we do.
It's a hard life picking
But we
rocks
do.
and pulling teats.
Pulling those
It act-
suction cups off? For
No,
sure.
actually, okay. So I started farming, like actually helping and working when I was 10.
Okay.
And I turned 30 this year, so I've been doing this shit for a
I
long
told you
time.
he was 29, bitch.
Yeah. And
And you were still wrong because he's 30.
no, I am 29. I turned 30 this
Turning
summer.
30.
But when you milk cows, okay, if we're gonna give people a farm life education
Let's hear it.
lesson
Yep.
here, when you prep a cow, you have to clean them and disinfect them. Well, when you do that, you also check for bacterial infections called mastitis. So you actually hand milk or strip the cow 3 or 4 times.
Right, push a little through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push a little through, just like that.
Lube that bitch up.
So I had figured out, because when I had my farm, I would always give my employee his day off on Thursday, and then however it managed to be, I'd pull on Fridays. When I was milking on my own, I couldn't hang on to 500.
Oh, wow.
That amount of repetition
Right.
Yeah.
just
Just
fries your
fries it.
forearms.
Yeah.
And somebody pull up a calculator where I had 60 cows.
Yep. 4 teats.
Four
Gotta
teats.
Pull it a bunch
Hold
of
on,
times.
hold on.
750
Okay.
because you did it 3 times a day.
So 60
60
cows
times
with 4
4.
teats. Then you got 4 squirts.
Oh, 4 squirts.
Yep. If you want to go that, yeah.
It's about 3,000.
So then do that.
No, it's 960.
No, because you got to do it 3 times a day.
Oh,
Yep.
hold
Oh,
on.
You're way ahead of us, dude.
Jesus,
You're
fuck.
smart,
It's
dude.
2,880.
What did I say? It's above 3,000. Let's move on.
Hey,
So
Josh,
now-
respect. Right?
Jesus.
So now,
Where are you when I have to do plate math?
when
Someone
you
almost got
when
a
you talk
25.
about repetitive motion,
And that's if you did it perfectly. You know, you might have to pull it 5 times. You know, if you mess
I mean,
up. So
this is it's so weird how we are talking about this, but really, as far as an athlete trying to
Right.
have a profession, that's one of the big things that I struggle with
Yeah.
because I'm trying to do this job, and when you're going through a repetition of of locomotion or whatever you want to call it, I mean, it
Yeah.
kills you.
Yeah.
I mean,
same thing with cabinet makers with screw guns.
Yeah.
That
My,
one
uh,
arm just sucks.
And
So
so
my
I was
dad- yeah.
actually like right now I go see a massage therapist
For sure.
every single week.
Really?
And I've been seeing him for years.
Wow.
Before I really came back into powerlifting, I started seeing him because my arms were on fire.
Yeah,
all the
elbows
time.
too, I bet.
yeah, my
Not too bad
not
with
too
the
bad?
elbows, but my forearms, I
Yeah.
mean, they're just trash.
Yeah.
And so it's nice, like now I'm finally getting to a point where they're recovering and I'm trying to bring in some strength training just for my
Mm-hmm.
forearms where we're trying to hold on to 700. But as an equipped lifter, I'm actually now beyond, my strength is actually
Yep.
beyond what I can even pull raw.
Yep.
So it's super frustrating, but I mean, it's one of the things that you have to take in factor when
I
you're,
can, yeah, and I can totally relate to that right now too because I'm. So my pec injury, I think deduced down that it has something to do with pulling mixed grip. But so I've been messing around with hook grip, and for what my hook grip is fine, but when I deadlift and I pull it up, my fingers get caught on my legs, and it kind of undoes my grip. And since I live in
That's exactly what happens.
yeah, since I work out at a freaking Globo gym, I can't use baby powder, so I don't know if that helps me or not yet, just because I haven't been able to use it. So that's why I'll pull, like I pulled 585 with hook grip, and the grip is totally fine until I literally undo my own grip on my legs, and my legs have scratches on them because
I've
nails.
had my. Yeah. I don't get bloody shins now. I get bloody quads.
Yeah, same here. So, and then I mean, the other day I pulled 675, like freaking.
I seen that.
Yeah, like ridiculous. So it's frustrating when there's that little grip thing.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, well, I know the strength is there, but this little fucking thing, I just can't.
It's
hold
so
on to the
frustrating.
bar.
Having
Yeah.
shitty grip is probably one of the most frustrating things, because especially when you're healthy.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
healthy and you know you can pull this shit, but you can't hold on to save your life.
Yeah.
Like your life will depend on
know,
this,
and
and
then
you can't fucking hold on.
It's like those freaking straps, man. They're just in your bag, just like, hey, use me now. But you're like, no, I'm not gonna fucking use my
well,
straps.
and I think for people that really struggle with hand grip, it gives you anxiety on comp day.
Oh yeah.
Because and for me, my hands sweat.
Mm.
So now I've gone to liquid shock.
Okay.
That with the alcohol, it dries them out okay. But I've had it where I've bombed out in a meet because they were sweating so bad. I did a summer meet and I could not get things under control where I could hold on to the damn bar.
Right.
And it was no Alico or anything either where you had some gnarling.
The teeth, yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, my skin is like leather, so I'm like, give me all the fucking gnarly.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
dig into them.
Let it bleed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I can only imagine if you're even 1% nervous that you can't hold on to the bar.
Yeah, then that's
It might
already
not
in your
move.
head too.
Yeah, it might
Right.
not
So
move at all.
so you have to be extra conservative on that opener.
Yep.
Then you actually have to be conservative on that second and set yourself up. All right, can we hold on to the third
Can we
attempt
make a
day?
big
Right.
jump?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
This is why I don't know my attempts ever. Like, this is what's so great about having Cole, or in general having a coach there, because I'll just look at him and go, he's not going to be dumb enough to put something on the bar that is going to be so ridiculous I'll never be able to lift it. And so I do the same thing. I get in my head about it if I know what it is. And I was going to say, it's so funny you guys bring up grip, because even when we had Sullivan on the cast right before the Arnold, that was his big thing. He knew once he hit 650 that there was a really strong chance he's losing it. And I remember watching it going, come on, Scott. Come on, and it was
his
great. It was
last
totally
attempt.
the grip. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything else. Like, he had that lift. He is strong enough to lift it, and it was grip. So my question is, what the fuck do you do to fix that, or do you just keep going and pray it works? Like, what can you do to actually increase your grip strength?
So I mean, it depends because
in Kip's situation, it's not like you can make him do farmer carries or anything. You know,
right because
He does them every day.
Well, it's
the
overuse
endurance
is the
gone
issue.
already. Yeah.
Overuse is already the issue. So
Right.
it's like, well, we're not going to have you do more
and it's
shit.
hard when you have muscles that are overused, or they're at the point of strain. It's hard to build strength in that muscle
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like I could say, okay, Kip, all I want you to do is I'm going to set it up where it's really easy for you to grab something and hold on to it. If they're overused, you're not going to get anything.
So does that maybe mean this is going to sound really funny, and this is going to sound really stupid probably, but would you potentially, if you know you're coming up on big deadlifts, would you potentially deload a little bit more for that muscle group? I mean, would you literally be like, I'm going to deload a little longer off my deads? Or would you maybe decide you're going to use straps a little bit more, like an extra week out, to help deload some of the gnarliness on those muscles?
What I do is I try to focus on doing less at work.
Yeah.
Try it.
I try to do that every day.
Well, I mean, everything that I do every day, I try to really put into perspective. How is this going to affect? Like at work, I just said I can't milk anymore, because there we milk 300 cows, and a milking shift is 5 hours long.
Oh my
So
God.
you
Non-stop,
take
yeah.
those numbers that we just figured out. You go 300 cows with those 4 squirts for 4 teats, and you do that for 5 hours.
Fuck that.
Like
That
your
is going to
hand-
be, by the way, the next
your
sample we're
hands-
using from the podcast.
Your
it's
hand.
5,400 pulls per shift.
Stop.
Okay,
Rain Man.
It is. Shut the fuck up. God damn it.
They hurt.
For sure.
I mean,
And it's
so
not like
the
you're
one
switching
time,
hands. It's the
well,
same
you
hand.
will. No,
Will
you do.
Okay.
So you're
I'm really
s-
impressed by Josh's
know.
fucking math skills right now.
So you
I know.
So you split that
He's
up.
not even high.
You split that up, and it does take a little bit of a burden off of them, but at the same time, it took me about 2 months. I did one milking shift when I came back to this job that I'm at now, and it took me 2 months to recover from that.
Yeah.
Really?
I bet.
Yep.
And you got to think you're up and down constantly because you got to get up, grab the thing, get down. You got to, like you said, clean it. There's a lot of other things that go into it rather than just pull
Well,
it.
so here we milk in a parlor.
Oh, okay.
So the cows come in
Come
and they're
in and-
actually in an elevated
Yeah,
stance.
yeah.
So now your hands are always up.
Right.
So now
I hear that.
Your traps and everything are just.
I'm
they're
like
on
this.
fire
I'm
because
like
you know,
this
like
all
the
day.
guys that do it every day, they're used to it.
Right.
But they're not power lifters on the side.
So when you're a lifter and your muscles are naturally a little bit more tight, and then all of a sudden you're putting it into a foreign kind of a position for hours on end, it just trashes you.
Yeah. So for me, like just being doing ceilings, my arms are always above my head. So my traps are so tight all the time. I have to think about not using them. Like I'll literally I'm like this all the time. My shoulders are always raised just because I'm not thinking about it. I always have to think about pulling my shoulder blades down and
Because
back.
it's what you do every day.
Right.
Yep.
Just because they overcompensate for everything just because I'm always in that position. So I
Right.
can relate to that big time. But
Now, would you, so a 5-hour shift, did you have to do it just the one time that day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have employees.
By the way, it's
that are-
4,800 pulls, not 56 or whatever I said. Just saying.
because we have shifts and we have other employees and we have days off and stuff like that. So I was filling in for somebody else, and after that one shift, I said I can't do this
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
Don't expect me to milk.
And I think that's something other athletes don't consider because I'll have athletes come in after work and they're like, I don't understand why I can't, deadlift this or pick this up or whatever. And they're just not considering that what they're actually doing at their job.
yeah,
Even if
what
it
you
is a
do
com-
for 8 hours
Right.
straight has an effect.
Yeah, even if it's
on
low
the
impact,
rest of your
low
day.
intensity,
Yeah.
high volume, it's
Well, I don't think it doesn't matter what you do, because I think people that sit at a desk all day,
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah.
have their own struggles.
It's called hip mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah, like John and I both have dealt with hip and leg and knee pains they're not coming from having John thought he had a massive knee injury. He goes and has
John is a cop and sits in a squad car all day.
all day long, right?
he's got muscle
And
viruses in his quads.
He's also sitting with all that gear on too, so he's not even sitting in a normal position, you know. And he thought he had like some kind of a massive tear or something. Here he just has swollen cartilage, and they're trying to tell him he can't, whatever for so long. Those things are created from all that tightness that's in everywhere else, from the shortened hamstrings from sitting for so long and everything else. It's just absolutely unbelievable how much we kill our bodies for the gym when we're not in the gym.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my biggest from what I do every day, I struggle to recover from just as much from as I do the gym.
Oh,
if
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because what I do on the farm, I'm the feed manager, so I take care of all the feed preparations and I take care of all the feed piles and I take care of the data system and blah blah blah. But right now, half of my day is mixing the feed. So I'm jumping in and out of payloaders, cab tractors, skid steers, and that's all foot movement.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so one of the other issues when I was talking about going to wide stance is because I have knee issues. And why that is because I have overly tight quads and zero ankle mobility, super tight shin.
from jumping out of the cabs all the time.
Well, that and foot movement.
Yeah.
Because you're braking, brake gas.
Right.
Skid steers or foot pedals. So you're constantly, you're doing all this footwork and you're jumping in and out. Then I wear boots all day, every day.
I was going
Right,
to say
yeah.
one thing for
Rigid.
me is the boots, because they go all the way up around your ankle, it doesn't allow for as much dorsiflexion in your foot when you
Right.
walk. So you are naturally losing a little bit of that mobility just because the boot kind of takes care of it for you. Whereas when you're in tennis shoes, your foot and your foot goes through that
Right.
full range of motion. And for me, like that's one thing I've had to refocus on is ankle mobility, because
Yeah.
that's a constant battle that I'm fighting.
And it took me, so when I first sold my cows and I actually moved down to Broadhead, Wisconsin, and I worked on a 2,000 cow dairy. That's when I spent that time there. But at that time, I went right into mixing feed for 12 hours a day. So I was running payloader and tractors for 12 hours a day. All of a sudden, my shins were on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what's going on, because I didn't really understand how you know, because I had driven payloaders and tractors all my life, but to do it that long,
Right.
Like,
the volume was
To go from what you were doing to
yeah.
quadruple
So when I
your
was getting
volume.
ready for Atlanta in 2016, I was going to go to Raw Nats, and a month out, I got into I started getting into my doubles and singles, and my knee just gave, like, it was done.
Yeah.
Because everything was so tight that yeah, I didn't tear anything, but it strained it to a point of what was happening is the quad got so tight that it was actually pulling on the knee joint itself.
because the ankle wasn't doing its job.
Yep, and it just kind of self-combusted, and yeah, it ended up.
So
and
what do you do now to mitigate that problem? So Cole talks about he works on that dorsiflexion. Do you have specific drills or exercises or?
there's a lot of different things I've tried. The biggest things I do massage therapy every week because anything that I try, like I'll spend an hour before every workout just to get my body to open up, move a little bit, and it's nothing. It's like throwing a penny at a freight train, and it's.
I like that.
That's a great one.
I like that.
I love that.
And because I get into a PVC pipe, those super hard, like softball size balls.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm just in there pounding on it, just trying to get things to move. Because then the fact that my left side is so much tighter, I have a horrible rightward shift.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
So with the massage therapist, he's able to get in there and get things to actually start to flow. And the one time, so then like when I hurt my neck, I couldn't afford him. So like I took 6 weeks off, and in that 6 weeks, the quad and the muscles associated with that knee issue, they did not recover to the point where I'd actually built an adhesion in there. And
Wow.
Stagnant.
yeah, and then I actually did, and I sprained my knee again in December, trying to get away from, trying to save money and trying to get around all this stuff, and yeah.
Have you ever tried Graston?
I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it.
That's something that everyone had talked about for a long time, and I finally tried it myself because the symptoms that you're talking about are exactly what myself, Batterberry, a couple of us have had, where the pain is in the knee area, but it's not technically the knee that's hurting. Right. It's those ligaments and those tendons are so tight, and they're pulling on things in a way that it's pulling that knee out, and that's what's causing the pain when we're doing our lifts because everything else is tight. And I went in and I had her do Graston. She did a lot of it on the outside of my knee, and it gets into that scar tissue. And it's relatively inexpensive. It's actually done by my chiropractor here in town, and I saw amazing relief, and especially with increasing my flexibility. That's when she also went down and started to realize that lower calf area and down into my Achilles area was so extensively tight as well. So I had a couple sessions where it was like $25 a session. And she went in and worked. It hurts like hell. Like imagine you work out with Ken Grack, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's an asshole with mobility. It sucks, but it's the most amazing thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. I went to his clinic, and think about that times like 20. It's going to hurt, right. But they get in and think of it as like an extra intense massage session just on those really tight, almost scar tissued like areas. Holy cow. Like I would highly recommend at least giving it a try once. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe the relief that I felt almost. And the best part about Graston, and same thing with getting muscle therapy done, you don't have to take a break. Like, in fact, it's good to go get it done before you go lift, because then you can go in and retrain that body in the right positions. And they actually want you to, like a good chiropractic adjustment, they want you to go home and rest it, ice it, then you can hit in the next day. Graston, she was like, no, awesome. You're going into the gym next? Right. Do it. Go.
We got you loosened up. So now
are you
go
familiar with what they're doing? So they take like an oil and they put it over your skin, but then they have this metal stainless steel wand of some sort, and they literally scrape back and forth.
I've done scraping.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done dry needling, I've done acupuncture, I've done cupping, I've done soft tissue, deep tissue, okay. Now that we've talked about like where I've been, what I've gone through the last year, so when I talked about going wide stance, that was also why. Because with wide stance, I don't have to require nearly as much for my dorsiflexion. Right. Because as I go narrow, it takes a lot more knee travel for me to maintain that bar position. But I wasn't able to maintain my strength being wide, and then I went back to narrow. I've seen a couple people on Instagram talk about, it seems like a big cue out there is always push out your knees.
Yeah.
And to me, I think I was trying so hard to push my knees out, I actually overextended that.
Okay.
So I actually started to really focus on letting my body, my knees travel where they wanted to go, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and not purposely try to push them out, because I think I was pushing beyond where they were really capable of.
And especially too, if you said you naturally have that narrow stance, then your knees are probably going to naturally track a little bit more forward than everybody else versus out really wide too.
Right.
So.
And a lot of people, when they hear push out, they're going to push so much that they put so much emphasis on the blades of their feet.
Yes.
Where like none of their big toe is touching the ground, and then you're causing some real knee shearing.
Yes. And so like in December, I'm pretty sure I sprained my patella tendon where that was what really got inflamed, or I mean, I couldn't squat the bar after that happened.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about going from 3 to 6 days a week, with 6 days a week, it seems like also keeping the body in motion, if that makes sense, because you take a day, a really big day, and then you don't train. It seems like it would really like warm up and then go back into that solidified.
Yep,
stiff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the fact that I go in every single day, and I've actually been able to take out a lot of my warm ups and a lot of the exercises and things that I've had to do in the past to really get my body to start working right. I'm getting into a function where it's just more walk in.
Yeah. That's and that's one thing that I actually prescribe some of my athletes too, is like, if you are consistently feeling so torched, like the day after a squat session or something, go in and do some active recovery.
Do some
that's probably
body weight squats.
Yeah, that's probably gonna help you more than just doing nothing. Like getting moving. Like for Brooke, we literally added, she's squatting every day she's in the gym now, just because for her it takes her so long to get through her mobility and everything like that. It's like, you know what? And one, you just need to get better at squatting.
Right.
So it's like she's got 2 specific squat days, but other than that, it's just like, this is literally like just a movement pattern thing where
very low intensity.
very low intensity.
Because you look at your 3 factors of programming of your volume, your frequency, and your intensity. You can do 2 at the same time.
Right,
And if you wipe out the intensity and you're just focusing on the reps, because it takes they talk about how many reps it takes to get into a habit and get into that natural motion. And I mean, I definitely would agree that if you squat every day, you're bound to get better.
Right. But
Well,
we're
and
not
it's-
saying.
Do you know how fucking terrible squatting every day is? though?
Yes, I
Do you know
do.
how fucking
Yes.
terrible it
Yes,
is?
I do.
There's a difference?
I do between 5 and 7 squat sessions a week. Terrible. Okay.
Okay.
But the thing too is,
But-
it also is going to depend on the athlete you're talking about. Like for me,
But I'm really good at squatting.
I'm still really new. It's only been about 1.5 years that I've been powerlifting, and about halfway through last year, I had an injury.
Yeah.
I tore my meniscus, and so I didn't actually start actually squatting with even I couldn't even look at the goddamn bar until almost January, and so for me, I'm retraining my body in more like mentally, physically, and also just trying to get that frequency load back in. And for someone who like you, Kip, who you have a stronger load, you've been doing it much longer than I
You
have.
got that load.
Yeah,
got that
for
strong
God's
load,
sake. You know what, you
son.
guys?
Keep talking.
Anyway, my point is, squatting every day for you might not necessarily always be the answer because, well, shit, you're
He's
in a
good at
totally different
squatting.
zone. He's already good at squatting.
Yeah.
You don't have to retrain your body how to do it.
Right.
I do. Like my body literally was like, I don't remember how to do this.
But would you say that by increasing your frequency, so let's actually rewind that. When you were lifting 3 times a week and you were squatting all 3 of those days, did you ever feel like you had to reteach yourself because you were so stiff or like from day to day you had to change your stance, or you can be more consistent now or anything like that?
I'm way more consistent now.
Like your squat form is just way better now than it was 3
Yeah, and
times.
I think if you were to even ask my coach, things have really changed in that 3-4 months that we're at now. Things have really changed to where consistency is in every single session. And it's not so much that I had to retrain myself, but the amount of effort I had to put in to get my body at the point of being fluid.
Yeah.
Fluid seems to be the term to use now. I don't know why, but
Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It literally does. It's kind of like I talk with Cole all the time how it's funny to watch the amount of weight it takes me to put on the bar before they feel perfect. Like if I have anything less than like a 115 on the bar, they all just feel like trash. And all of a sudden you get that as you get stronger, you feel there's that specific amount of weight that goes on the bar. And I think you talked about it being a counterbalance almost, that all of a sudden it just feels smooth.
Yeah, like
and
my
it
bar
flows.
path. My bar path is shit until about 315.
Me
Just
too.
because
Yeah.
I'm so
Exactly.
like you're almost using that.
I really think you are. And
Yeah.
and when you go to like that 3 days a week, or you squat 1 day a week, it takes more time and energy to get your body to, or it's going to be less weight
To find the
Right.
groove.
to find that groove.
Right.
Because there was a couple years that I trained with Sean Kane, who was a legendary USAPL lifter, and he would just go, "Your warm-ups are complete shit.
Yeah,
They're just sheer trash."
yeah,
He goes, "Yeah, you need about 4 plates just to look decent."
right, right.
Well, and would you say that when there's only 3 plates on the bar, you just don't care that much?
No.
Because it's only 3
No,
plates?
I think if you're a
Yeah.
lifter that constantly struggles staying healthy, struggles with consistency, struggles with everything. I mean, and now when we talk about being an open and having this life, you go into the gym with a different mindset.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
even for me, like I'm serious from the bar
Yeah, right.
on.
Yep.
Because
yeah.
I can't afford to
Miss,
have 2
like-
1/4, or like I go 275 to 385. If I make any jumps, I have to be serious about any weight.
Yeah.
Because for me, like I could easily throw my knee off at any given time.
Yeah.
Right.
Over
Right.
a stupid
Oh
light
yeah,
warm-up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of like Scott and his 405 deadlift or whatever
Yeah.
that was, and he
Flipped his hand.
flipped. Well, no, his back.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he hurt his
Yeah,
back
yeah,
right
yeah.
before he
Yeah.
went to the Arnold,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't even on a heavy weight.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like my body is kind of like a sheet of glass, so I have to take.
Mm-hmm.
I have to everything that I do. I have to make sure I take care of it.
Treat lightweight like it's heavy.
Yes,
That's what I do. It was so funny. Like there's I lifted with someone who wasn't used to lifting or didn't lift with me very often, and they were like, why do you make every single, like, why do you make even lightweights, like you make it look heavy, like you're getting ready to lift a heavy weight?
Because
And
he's
I'm like,
weak as fuck.
I'm like, well, that's actually, I'm glad you said that because that tells me I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
It's because
Mhm.
I'm bracing,
Practicing.
I'm going through that whole setup like it is fucking 600 pounds. So
You're
that when I get to
practicing, yeah.
600 pounds, I don't need to think about it. And that brings up something that I talked to Ben about this the other day, but
Which
just
Ben?
like Lawrence.
Oh, Binks.
But something that, because Ben and I'm the same way. I don't know about you, Kip, but I am a overthinker when it comes, like if I get in my head about like technique and stuff while I'm lifting, it's almost game over. Like I just overthink stuff too much. So what I was telling him, because he does the same thing, is like during your setup, like all the way up to the point where you take your breath and brace, all the like your walkout, you're making sure your feet is set and all that. That's when you think about your technique. And then the second you take that air into brace, it's literally game time. And you shouldn't be thinking about anything but like applying the most amount of force possible into the bar.
At the right time, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And there, like I have to use that as like a mental shut off to like turn my brain off and just fucking lift.
And I recently got to that point, and that's when I really learned how to generate that full body tension, fire everything, and not thinking about my knees as much, pushing out, just letting my focus on maintaining tension and not bomb squatting.
Yeah.
And just go.
Yeah.
There definitely comes a point when you reach that level of because you will overthink everything.
A level
Right.
of comfort. You can
Well,
almost relax enough to just work on that timing.
Right.
And you can spend that time from when you're warming up from the bar all the way up to that set. Those warm-up sets are the time that you think about that. But then once you get to that working set, your mind should turn off and it should just be game time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But,
and it's good for me. I videos and coach, because if I always have, I keep my coach accountable for my technique. So I try not to over obsess about my technique in the gym, if this makes sense. Like I try not to spend too much time critiquing myself. I try to focus on getting my work done because otherwise I'll have a 3-hour session in just my squat.
Because you're staring at your videos so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I always preach to people, have a coach and have that other set of eyes, because just focus on getting the work done. You know, trust where you are right now in the form that you have, and focus on executing in the gym, and then worry about the critique and the overthinking later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just talked about that on the last podcast when we were doing a kind of a form check.
Yeah.
Where when your coach tells you, you know, this is what you need to change, use that to get you to the next level. When you're in the gym, you're at a certain level, just be at that level. Outside of the gym, you can start to think about, how do I get to that next level, and that coach can help you with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about the younger lifters is they don't have that patience.
Right.
There's a lot of lifters that don't have that patience, where they need to either fix things, or how in the process of how we get better as lifters, it takes a process of elimination, trial and error, and a lot of lifters aren't willing to go through that. Where with my coach that I have now, you know, we've done a really good job of nitpicking and just say, let's focus on this now. We're going to just keep on doing this, this, and this. And I mean, but there also is accountability in the lifter self to learn their body. Because I actually reached a point where I was like, all right, we got to throw out this wide stance. It's working. It's crossing over to my deadlift, but there's no way we're ever going to go comp. And so...
And there's one, I mean, and we talked about this off the air today, but it's like, as a coach too, there's a lot of times where a lifter will send me their sets and it looks fine. And like, that's okay too. Like, as a coach, I feel like I always feel the need to critique something, but there's a lot of the times where I've been with a lifter for a while and their shit just looks good. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, looks good. And I feel like they're always like, but is there anything I can do better? It's like, well,
trust the process,
but not real. I mean, I'm not gonna just say shit just to say shit, you know.
But that brings up a good. That's a great point to be at though for a coach, because now with my coach, now we're working on nutrition, because. Well, that's what I pay for. But for you, you could be like, well, how are we executing things outside? How are you doing your auxiliaries?
Accessories,
how are you doing your recovery?
Right.
I mean,
because if we got these big boxes checked, now we can start to look at the other stuff.
And that's
dial that
because
in.
that brings in a whole nother level of progress for some of these lifters, where they might be maximizing themselves where they're at. They might be at a peak. Or how can we, you know, as a coach, how can you start looking at what's going on outside of the primaries to get them to their next step?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, two things that have come up just with me working with you, Cole, that have significantly changed, especially one of them over the last couple weeks. I remember talking to you and you're like, well, maybe you just need to warm up more, Brooke. And I was like, oh my God, good point. And since I am rehabbing this squat, you know, I don't have a lot of weight on the bar. So what did that force me to do? It forced me to take smaller increments of gains on the bar as I was warming up. And so when you go back and look, instead of going, you know, bar to then straight to 95, then straight to 115 and trying to bang out some sets, now it went bar and it goes to 85, then 105, and then I kind of decrease it. And all of a sudden I'm noticing not only am I feeling more comfortable in my working sets, my body is catching on a lot faster. And I'm starting to see some really great strength gains out of it too, because I slowed down my warm-ups. And on the flip side, I have a guy who does my nutrition, and he's a bodybuilder, and I love accessories, which is a rare occurrence evidently. But I was smart enough to look at Cole and go, here's the deal. If I'm going to work with him, you need to work with him too. What can I and can I do? And there were some things that were potentially being programmed for me that would have been detrimental to what I needed in my lifts. So like when you mentioned accessories, it's a great thing to talk to your coach about, because sometimes, you know, we're all kind of gym nerds and you'll be like, well, that person's over there doing that, so I'm going to do that. That might not be what you need to do to become better. Like Cindy, when we did the form check, you guys mentioned the fact that, you know, she might need to work on some quad work to help build up some of that quad strength and stuff like that, where maybe she's been doing totally the opposite thing that maybe her body needs right now.
Yeah, and I would recommend if you do have a lifter where their primaries look great, then I would start asking the questions, okay, how are your accessories going? Throw me a couple videos of how those are going, or just to form check those, because I mean, how many lifters on average say fuck their accessories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
A
mean,
lot.
there's especially
Or do
core.
them
I think,
badly, or do them really badly.
oh yeah, and I think we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I would, if they want to get critiqued on something, there's always something to critique on a
Right.
lifter.
Yeah,
it
for
does.
sure.
And I think, I mean, obviously we always focus our main attention to the primaries, but after that, what else can I find? If you want me to critique you, I can dig something out.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. No, that's I'm definitely going to take note of that
Right.
because I can definitely pull some of that.
And so what I do with my coach, because I have an iPhone, because I'm cool like that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Android's
So
where it's
on my
at.
notes,
Them droids are taking over.
I actually log.
No.
I think I'm sure we all do, but I actually log every workout.
Mm-hmm.
So I date everything. I put my start time. I put my amount of meters I put on when I row. I put my finish time so he can see how long it took me.
Right.
Then I put down the entire workout on my notes, and then I put the amount of weight, what RPE I felt it was. So then he sees the videos. He can relate to how I view that RPE, so he
Right.
can kind of start to see how. Whoa! What? The
Sorry, I
hell are
turned you down. I'm sorry. I
The
was
hell
trying
are
to
you
turn
doing?
Cole down because he was coughing. Sorry.
So that makes sense. That
Yeah.
he can start to see. The coach can see how I look at my RPs,
Right.
and then at the same time, I put down my accessories and I put down my weights.
Yep.
So then that way, because then he told me because I do bent over rear delt flies,
Yep.
Yes.
right? And I can only do it with fives.
Yeah.
That's okay.
If you do them
and
right, yeah.
yeah, and then and then there was something else, and he's seen this. He goes, I need you to start trying to progress in that, because we were doing sets of 20s every week, and I'm only doing them with fives, and I'm like, that's all I can do to do them properly, you know, and it brought up conversation.
Yeah.
So you know, as a coach, Cole, I would definitely say it's something great to look
For sure. And especially now since because I mean I just started the whole online coaching thing not too long ago. So but
at. You're
now
so cool.
He's like super cool. You have no idea. He's like the most basic bitch of coaches. Sometimes you get a Starbucks card from him when you get new programming. I'm kidding.
But now
It's for Rockstar.
now what I've been doing now that I've been having clients for this longer period of time, and like I said earlier, they're getting really good at their lifts. Now is a good point where we can focus in on some of that other stuff. So
I found out 2 days ago, because one of my buddies is a bodybuilder in the gym, and usually we just shoot the shit and have to go, like, I got to go lift, right? Well, I'm a really big fan of cable chest flies. I love cable chest flies. And I was always kind of intimidated by the fact that I'm surrounded by all these big freaking beef dudes, right? Well, I'd been using way too high of a weight to get the proper muscle activation that I needed. And it took him looking at me and he goes, hey, and it was funny because I hadn't even started him yet. And he was like, don't you just hate it? And I feel like he knew what I was about to do. So we kind of set it off point, sort of, however you want to call it. He goes, don't you just hate it when people they just have to have bigger numbers on the cable when really, if the weight was lower, they could really focus on their muscle activation
Right.
better? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like,
As you're lowering
turning
it
mine
down.
down. But it was amazing because not only did I get the proper form where I was coming straight in front of my body with the crossover, the hand crossover, but I could feel the perfect activation in my chest muscles, like that really good inner squeeze for the first time in a long time.
Right.
And all I did was decrease it 5 pounds.
Right.
And exactly, like, it's funny how many people will go through the motions and they don't ask questions. They don't talk to anybody. They don't do their homework. And so when you're lucky enough to have a coach like you have, or have a coach like Cole, and who is going to look at all of it, like if I were to send Cole every one of my sets of accessories, he would absolutely tell me, here's what I think and what I don't think. And I'm going to roast the fuck out of him when he gets back because he did not put his phone on
Phone is
silent.
still on? Yeah.
I know.
So what I have to say for Kip is it's nice that you're actually tracking how long your workouts take, because for a coach that can say so many things too. If
Oh,
a
I'm
workout-
totally guilty. I'm
Yeah.
totally guilty of fucking off on my phone, or
And
I
slowing
will
way
spend
down.
I
Yeah.
will spend an hour plus just trying to get my body to move.
Yeah.
And that would lead to 4 or 5 hour workout on my big SBD days.
Right.
And so yeah, I even had a spot where I had how long it took me to warm up.
Yes. Yeah. But again,
So-
if you're spending 5 hours, you're not getting a lot of density in, right? A lot of
Right.
training density. Oh, let's try to make it into 4. That
Right.
can make your athletes change so
then
much.
that brings in the questions like, so how long is it in between sets, or how long is it,
Exactly.
Yeah, I can start to ask so many questions for
Or
the
you
coach.
say, well, sometimes it's 3 minutes, but sometimes it's 15 because I got into a conversation or I was on my phone on Instagram or
that happens a lot.
that happens a lot.
Well,
or
and that's
I got
important.
caught looking at my own videos because I was trying to critique myself and I got in my
so
head.
when I
Or my
logged
gym
that,
crush came in and
and I couldn't
Shut up,
fucking
leave me
concentrate.
alone,
That
leave me
happens to me once in a while.
alone.
Sorry, Courtney.
I do it all the time. I'm horrible about
I
it.
get distracted.
Yeah. Those
So-
chicks when they walk in with those gym sharks. I'm kidding.
I want to
Those chicks
segue
when
a
they
little
come
bit
in
here.
with their white leggings with red thongs on.
Okay.
Gross.
God damn
Gross.
it. I just can't stop looking.
On the next Coaches Collaboration podcast.
I want to know how Kip got into powerlifting. That always interests me. Nowadays, I would call you like you're like an OG because you were doing it before it was fucking popular.
I was.
The Coaches Collaboration podcast. What do you mean you haven't subscribed yet? What the hell are you waiting for?
Come on, y'all.
The Coaches Collaboration podcast is brought to you by Salutum Health and Performance. Take your full power potential to a new level. Online at salutumhp.com.